Hey everybody, my name is Rich Shoemaker, and I'm working with 4 different cameras right now. I've got the Pi Zero right here. I've got the NDI camera right here. I have a wired Pi 2 with a normal camera, and then a wired Pi 2 with an infrared. Now these 2 cameras over here, this one and this one, they are Chinese knockoff cameras. They have an M12 mount, and that's specifically why I bought them, so I could change the lenses out. This over here is just a Samsung Galaxy. Let me see if I can get the name of it. It's a Galaxy Prevail. It's an inexpensive camera phone. Over here is the Raspberry Pi W, and that is the 5 megapixel Raspberry Pi foundation camera. The reason I keep looking up here is that's where, up there is where I have the vMix set up. Excuse the coughing. And what I was doing testing-wise was just to see the lag. I was expecting the wired cameras would have a little bit of lag. They have almost none. It's pretty nice. Now, when I say wired, they're into the internet. So let's go through these cameras one at a time. We'll cut across to that, go boom, 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 and boom. So this is a wired camera into my network. So it's actually streaming right now. The image quality is bad for 2 reasons. One, it's only a quarter size, so it's 512 by 288, I do believe, which is, 1/4, which is close to SD, actually, standard definition size. Also, the colors are off. The colors on this camera are horrible, and that's a cheap Chinese knockoff camera concept. That's probably the reason it's happening. So this one over here, as you can read on the screen, is a Pi Wired Noir. Now, again, Chinese knockoff camera with an M12 lens, and it is wired into a Pi 2 going into my system and then being streamed across. Again, quarter screen. So 512, 288, something like that. Next on the hit parade is this little camera right here. Now, this is the surprise. I'll just be honest. This is a wireless Pi W going into my network and streaming across. The software I use is called RasPi Webcam Interface, and I used it on all of my Raspberry Pis. It's super easy to use, has a great has a great web interface, and you can put the title over top. That's where the title is coming from. It's actually, that title right there is from inside the Raspberry Pi webcam interface. I added it on top of it. So this is not a feature, that little thing is not a feature of vMix, and I have no way of getting rid of it inside vMix. Typically, I wouldn't have it on there. I have it on there because I'm testing stuff out. So last but certainly not least is the camera right here. Sorry that they're not 1, 2, 3, 4. I should actually set it up that way. So this camera right here is a Samsung Galaxy Prevail that I said, and it's using NDI. So it's also going through the network. It's wireless, except it's using the NDI protocol. And the NDI protocol is by NewTek, and it's standard across the board. And if you notice, there's no title on screen. And that is because I had to add the title. So this title actually gets added. See how tiny it is? I added it so when I do the 4 box, which I'm going to do right now, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then change that to the background. There you go. So now you can see all 4 cameras, and that's the NDI camera. Oh, I did it wrong. You did it wrong. There we go. So that's the NDI camera. Talking into just a regular SM57, these are not awesome for general use. I use them most of the time for guitar amps and bass drums and stuff like that. I just happen to have this laying around. My high-end microphone is still drying out. I found out that the condenser inside there must have gotten moisture on it, and it was causing it to go all the time. It was really annoying. So if you notice, and I'll use my hand, you can see the lag between the different cameras. The two wired streaming cameras, this one here and this one here, have almost no lag. They are streaming. This isn't a hard connection. I have one hard connection I can do, and I usually use my GoPro or my FZ1000 Panasonic. And so that's going to be the next test. I'm going to do a hard wire into it, and we'll see how it works. And so this is Pi Noir, regular Pi, actually Pi Noir Chinese knockoff M12, regular camera M12 knockoff. And I've got a bunch of these. I probably should I should probably swap this out because clearly there's chromatic aberrations. It doesn't look good. This camera right here, the Pi Noir, that looks great. Actually, that's an infrared. That's the reason that the coloring is off. So anyway, next camera that I have in the list is the wireless Pi 5 megapixel foundation camera, and it looks really good. I'm shocked. I think the Pi Noir, the 5 megapixel Raspberry 5 foundation camera looks better than the inexpensive NDI camera. And I was doing some testing to see the motion blur. I already know the NDI camera has a ton of motion blur. I can't, it's not that I can't stand it, but I've done a lot of videos with the NDI camera, and the motion blur is kind of annoying. And there is not a lot of motion blur on the Raspberry Pi cameras. And what I'm actually using with RPI webcam interface is the Motion JPEG. Yeah, I think it's Motion JPEG. So depending on your browser, Motion JPEG may or may not work. They also have a default setting which works pretty well too. So that's my test. Yeah, I gotta. And there is no special lighting. I have done no lighting. Definitely lighting would have been a good choice. And I think I'm going to swap that camera out. I have a bunch of those, so I'll swap that out. I actually was doing a 360 cam with that. And then I was like, why am I doing 360 cam? I don't even want a 360 cam. So the thing that I've been trying to do is something that came from the Matrix. In the Matrix, it was called bullet time. And what they did was they set up a whole bunch of cameras in a circle, and then they could stop motion, make motion go backwards. I really don't want to do any of the fancy stuff. What I'm trying to do, though, is a 360 capture and then watch myself back for feedback purposes. If you use a mirror, if you use a 2D camera, you'll notice that certain things are on in the camera and they're on in the mirror, but in reality they're off because you're actually only working in 2 dimensions. So when you're doing an isolation, and you can isolate anything, so I'll take this. When you're doing an isolation and you're trying to keep something set in one spot, when you're using a camera and you're looking at a monitor to try to get it spot on. Now you see, it's interesting because I have more than one camera angle here, so I can see what I'm talking about in regards to when you have just a single plane and you're going like this and you're making micro mistakes in 3 dimensions, they might not be picked up. But with multiple camera angles, it's really easy to pick up that, wow, you're making a mistake. And again, you can isolate anything. That's my test for today, and wow, it's almost 10 minutes. That's too long. Anyway, have a great day, everybody. Fade to black.